everyone. So I was hoping that my Zoom video was going to record. It did not. So I am going to do the demo all over again to make sure that my participants that weren't able to join us during the Zoom time can do their paintings now. So today we're doing our, cheers, our wildflower wine glasses. So how this is going to work is when I do any of my classes, I always paint on a big glass so that you guys can see a little bit better. So everyone should have a wide variety of paints. You don't want to pour them out just yet. We will do that one step at a time. So you really don't need a whole lot of paint for this demo or for this activity. So the first two paints I'm going to use to begin with is that dark green and the blue. My blue is a little bit darker than yours. I was very heavy when pouring out the portions to my participants and I didn't leave any for me. So my blue is a little bit darker than yours, so that's normal. So what we are going to do is I am going to take a little bit of that blue and I'm going to start to mix it in to make kind of, oh, it's really not working very well. All right, I might need a little bit more blue. I'm gonna take a little bit of that and we're gonna start to, there we go. We're gonna start to mix it together. I'm looking for like a nice kind of blue-green kind of color. And I'm not using all of my green paint. I over poured, so you should have a lot of it. So the first thing that you're going to do is we're gonna start with our grass. So I am going to start from the bottom and pull up. And as I go up, I am going to pull away, almost bringing my paintbrush away from the wine glass. That's gonna give me that nice pointed grass blade. And I am gonna have them kind of close. Now we are gonna do this in layers. As you can see, and I'm sure that as you're painting along, you're starting to see this yourself, the paint is a little bit on the thin side and that's totally normal. We'll have to do a few coats here and there. And that's why I always paint with two wine glasses, so that you can bounce in between, back and forth between those two wine glasses to give those layers a little bit of time to dry. Normally, not so much with this one, but with other designs, like they have a lot of surface area that take up a lot of surface on the glass. When you paint on those next layers, sometimes when the paint's a little too wet, or if you're being a little bit too abrasive, too hard with your brush strokes, it'll start to peel the paint, almost look like cracking. So if you do see that happening with your glass, which I don't expect it with this design, leave it alone, come back to it. We'll touch it up in a little bit. You're gonna do more damage trying to touch it up at that very moment than just give it a little bit more time to dry. So you're gonna do this on both of your glasses. Just going around. And you want different lengths. I guess I haven't been doing that great of a job, but you want some blades of your grass a little bit higher, a little lower. And you can actually, and I'll show you a final example, you can do some, cute little curly cues on your glass. So you can have some, like I said, different size, different length glasses. Looks the exact same on the little guy. I don't think I put any curly cues on that little fella, unfortunately. So you're just gonna go all the way around. All right, so once you do that, you're gonna do that on both. Once you are done, and you can feel free to pause this at any time because you want your layers to dry, we're gonna move down to our next set. We're gonna go back to that normal green. So I'm gonna start to kind of fill it on in with that kind of new green kind of color. So I'm just going all the way around, layering it in. I want like kind of nice thick grass. All right, so we got those different colors going in there. I do apologize, my glass, I use this glass over and over again. I wash it and then reuse it for my different painting tutorials. So I apologize that there's little specks of paint just kind of floating around there. All right. So you're gonna do, we're gonna do 3 different types of green. There should also be a kind of lime green or light green. don't need a whole lot of that. To me, the light green, my cat just jumped on the table. The light green is a little, that's Eastman, everybody, say hi. The light green is a little bit too neon for me. So I'm actually going to take that paint and kind of like we did in the beginning, mix the two together. All right, so I'm kind of got this, ooh, that's really looking nice. All right, so same thing, that'll be our last layer that I'm kind of layering on in. So again, filling it on in. I can hear my dog walking around. So normally I do this as a in-person paint and sip business owner, but with this crazy quarantine and COVID-19 happening, obviously we had to adapt to kind of keep our business afloat, as you can see. And Eastman is very curious as to what I'm doing out here. Normally I paint in my studio back there. But the lighting's a little bit better in here to shoot a video. Okay, so I have a wide variety. Eastman, get out of here. Pardon me. Get down. Thank you. All right, so I have my wide variety of colors here. Okay, so I have all those different layers. So now I'm gonna kind of show you, and you want this to be dry. So hopefully you've done this to both of your wine glasses so that they are now dry. And you wanna pick up the one that had the most time to dry. So if this was your second one, go back to your first one. So I'm gonna wash my brush off, and I'm gonna show you a few different types of ways to do your flowers. Okay. You don't really need a whole lot of paint for this. You need about a dime size. So got a little bit of paint, about a dime size, not a whole bunch. So you could do this in red. You could actually do this in any color. I'm gonna start doing these kind of, you know, cute little red flowers here, the kind of daisy looking ones. So the first thing we're gonna do, make sure your brush is clean. And you can start anywhere. So maybe I'll come up top here, and I am going to start, and unfortunately my paint, oh, you know what? Back up, I totally forgot. You wanna make sure that we're also doing our stem here. So let's take that opportunity to do that now. The only problem is with doing it like this now, gotta make sure that your stem is dry before you grab it. So actually, since you're at home, hopefully you have a hairdryer. And if you do, once you kind of paint your stem on in, grab a hairdryer, speed up the drying process. There we go. So we're kind of making it look like it's like a little bouquet of flowers. I took a little bit of twine and tied it together, put a little cute bow on there to tie it together to make it look like a little bouquet of flowers. Okay, all right, so paint your stem. Should have done that before, that's okay. Once it's dry, we're gonna start with our flowers. So my stem is wet, so I'm gonna try my best not to touch it. Okay, so when you choose any paint color, I'm gonna start with red because it's just nice and easy to see. We are going to start from the outside and paint our way in. So I'm going to have those petals touch, and I want them really nice and close together. I don't want it, the petals spread apart. It kind of makes your flower look a little sparse, almost like it's kind of sick. So as you can see, I'm kind of just dragging my paintbrush in towards the center. Get a nice full flower, and sometimes I'll kind of go the opposite way too. Right, so we got our nice little flower there. So there's two types of flowers. So you can have the flower where we're seeing it, you know, head on, or you could do the flower that we're seeing to the side, kind of like this one right here. So it's the exact same idea, but you're only going halfway. So just to reiterate that idea again, I'll do another one. So for a full flower, having those petals touch, I'm constantly dragging it towards the middle. Okay, so it's nice and full. So same idea with the half flower. So you can have these at different lengths. You wanna have, or at different heights. So you wanna have some high flowers, some low flowers down in the grass here. So all of my flowers are different heights. so maybe we'll do one over here. So a little half flower, same thing. I'm going to kind of, you know, create half of a flower. So it's gonna kind of come to like a little point. Kind of like that. All right, and as you can see, the paint is really thin. I would go back, let this dry, and put in some more flowers. So you can do this. It looks like my paint is drying up. So again, dime size worth of paint. I'm gonna do a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. Let's see if I can salvage some from my last painting. Can't. Let's pour a little more. Okay, so like I said, you don't need a ton of paint. You don't want to throw it down the drain. Okay, so, you know, have them all different lengths. Have like a friendly little daisy up high. And you can add, you know, more flowers. There's obviously more types of flowers than, you know, just these. All right, so have some high, put some maybe down low. Oh, it's kind of tough to see. Constant. And don't worry about your flower being perfect. Nature's not perfect. All right, so that is, we have two types of flowers. Our kind of daisy that you can see from the front, and then the daisy you can see from the side. When these are dry, and they're not quite dry yet, maybe we'll come back to that. All right, I'll show you a different type of flower. Now, I am not a flower expert. I'm not a gardener. I wish I was. That's something I want to achieve, but I'm not. So I think these are called snapdragons or dragon something. So they're kind of more of a lengthier kind of flower. So it's kind of the same idea, almost like a tulip. So I'm going to do this with a little bit of the purple paint. So I'm going to grab some purple. Don't need a whole lot. I'm going to put it next to my blue. That way I can mix it a little easily together. So I'm going to mix the two together. Not completely. I'm going to save a little bit of that nice violet color. So now I've got this beautiful blue violet color. So I usually try to find a stem that's kind of high, and we're gonna almost kind of create like a tulip, or it's almost gonna kind of look like, you know, like the number 4 when creating these little flowers. So I'm gonna start up high, and I'm gonna start small. And then as I'm going down that stem, and I'm gonna rotate from side to side, my flowers are gonna get a little bit bigger and bigger as they're going down. I like making sound effects. My students always tease me because I use a lot of sound effects instead of words to describe things. All right, beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. So you could do that with the blue. You could also do that with the yellow. Maybe I can find a new spot. Wash your brush off. So same thing. Start up top, start small. And I'm gonna go from either side. Lovely. All right, so you should kind of have something that looks kind of like that. And you don't have to worry about it being perfect. Nature isn't perfect, all right? So, you know, be easy on yourself. Have a cluster. And like I said, you can have them high, you can have them low. All right, so to kind of make these flowers pop a little, they're a little flat right now. So I am the highlight queen. I like to add dimension to my flowers. So you can add a little bit of white to them, to your petals. You could actually make a mixture too. So like maybe I want a lighter version of this red. So if you remember back to your art days in school, red and white makes like a pink color. So I can add, you know, maybe a second layer of petals here. I know it's a little tough to see. And my cat, I apologize. I don't know if you guys can hear him crying. He wants to get out. He's not an outdoor cat, but he wants to be. So I apologize if you can hear him. Eastman, stop. Okay, so you can do, you know, little highlights. So maybe I'll even just kind of do, you know, right on the flower. It just gives it a little bit of dimension there. Let me find it. I'm the world's messiest painter. If you are a real painter when you know, paint like this. So let me find a good example. Okay, so there is a perfect little example where you can kind of see the highlights on the flowers. Oh, there's another one. So sometimes I even like to put it on the little polleny part of the flower. Okay, so to get that perfect dot, I actually use the butt end of my brush. So go ahead, flip your paintbrush around. You're gonna stick it directly in the paint. So I'm using my other palette. All right, so a little bit of black paint, and then it gives me a nice little dot. I'm just gonna kind of plop it on. Beautiful. And if you need it to be a little bit bigger, like let's say, you know, that's too small for me, no big deal. Grab a little bit more paint and you're gonna kind of circulate, do it in a rotating motion, and just gently make your flower center a little bit bigger. So you can do this in white, you can do it with the yellow. I think I have a little variety of both. So I've got, you know, some centers that have, oh, there's a lot of black on there. I could have sworn I had some other, oh, there's the yellow one. Okay, so you can do them on all different centers. And what I like to do, and I eventually will put a little highlight just to give it a little pop to finish off your flower. Okay, so I'm gonna let those dry. You wanna kind of bounce all over your wine glasses. So I'm gonna let those dry for a little bit. I'm gonna come back to our little snapdragon flowers. I apologize. I'm sure some like garden people are cringing right now. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to that blue violet one. I'm actually gonna take some of the normal purple or the normal violet and kind of add it on top. And my paint is not quite dry yet, but that's okay. So I don't know if you can really see the blending of the colors. You can actually even add in a little bit of white. Like I said, I like to give everything a little, I don't like just one flat color. And I just stuck my finger in the middle again. Okay, so you can kind of see, you know, it's starting to come together a little bit better. Let me grab final copy, or my final glass. Oof, getting dirty fingerprints on here because I'm such a messy painter. Okay, so as you can see, I've got, you know, some different colors on there. All right. And you can, like I said, you could add some white as well. We're also gonna add in our cute little, like, it's almost like, I don't know if you want to call it pollen or like little bubbles, but it just gives it a nice little flare. Again, we're gonna use the butt end of the brush. Make sure you clean it off. Stick my paintbrush little butt end in there. All right, and then you can do this anywhere. Don't worry about getting too close to the top. So I'm doing little dots using the butt end of my brush. And as you can see, it kind of goes up on over. And you can do those high, you can do those low. It's a really nice little space filler. Like that. You just kind of, I kind of like to have it almost go like in a zigzaggy kind of pattern. It gives it a little bit of movement. So I don't know how well you guys can see that. All right, there you go. All right, so I think there's not too much left to cover. So like I said, the last thing I like to do is kind of finish off the flowers and put in little highlights. So this might be too wet right now, but I like to put in, like I said, that little highlight on the top of the flower just to give it a little pop. Finishes it off nice. Maybe same thing over here. Okay, kind of like that. All right. So once you, and like I said, you want to have them at all different lengths. Have some going, you know, towards the top. Have some, you know, add a little bit down here as well. You can cluster them, kind of spread them on out. When you are done, it is the easiest baking in the world. So what you are going to do is you are going to place your wine glasses in the oven with the oven off. I gotta clean up my hand. I'm touching my antique table. My husband's gonna kill me. I'm getting paint everywhere, even with my placemat. Okay, so you're gonna place your wine glasses in the oven with the oven off. You do not want to preheat your oven. The wine glasses need to slowly heat up with the oven and slowly cool down. So stick them either on the rack or right on a baking sheet. I'm too lazy, I stick it right on the rack. Once they're in there, shut the door, and you're gonna turn the oven on to 350 degrees. I gotta wash my hands with like real soap and water, but for now, I'll just get the residue off. Okay, shut the oven, turn it on to 350 degrees. Immediately set the timer for 30 minutes. When the timer goes off, you're done. Turn off the oven, crack the door, and they should be cool enough to take out in about 10 to 15 minutes. I always recommend hand washing them. I've had people in the past put them in the top rack of the dishwasher. They reported back it was just fine. You spend so much time working on your wine glasses to make them beautiful. I recommend hand washing them. Again, oven, cool oven, 350, set the timer for 30 minutes, timer goes off, turn the oven off, crack the door, and they should be cool enough to take out in about 10 to 15 minutes, and please hand wash them. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to email me or follow me on Facebook at vinoandvernici@gmail.com. And like I said, thank you so much for taking the time to support my small business. Everything's really crazy right now, but not only does your ticket support my small business, my bangs, but it also is a portion of the ticket price goes to Blue Barn. So normally when I do my classes, I partner with local wineries and breweries. So a portion of your ticket went to helping finance and kind of keep Blue Barn on their feet, even though I think they're doing quite well, luckily. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you had fun, and I hope you really love your beautiful wine glasses. All right, bye.